Welcome to the Bible Savvy Podcast, a weekly conversation about how to understand, enjoy, and apply God's Word. It's time to jump into a new passage from the Bible Savvy reading plan.
All right, everybody. I'm here with Pastor Courtney and Pastor David. And David, you've got a question for us.
Question of the week, guys. Would you rather watch a movie on your TV at home or on the big screen in the theater, and why?
Big screen in a theater. It's way better. It's way more fun. It's so good.
Even if it's, cold and you don't have a nice fuzzy blanket to
Well,
keep
look,
you warm?
the couch is comfy, but I don't know.
What if there's sticky Coke left on the
Wait.
on the floor in front of your thing?
I could make your living room sound terrible too. I mean,
what if someone?
What if your children keep coming down and interrupting your movie? And what if it's too loud
way
for
too
them?
close to home.
What if you look around and you see all the things you should be doing and you feel kind of guilty that you're not doing it and all sorts of stuff? Like, yeah, your living room's awful.
But in general, isn't the theater just worse?
Okay, make your case.
All right. I have my own caveat to my own question.
What if there's baked potatoes at the theater?
That's good. All right, so there are times if I'm going to watch a movie by myself. There are times I do this.
Okay.
Like any Marvel movie that comes out, I know my wife will not watch with me, and so my ideal scenario is going to the movie theater by myself to watch that movie.
Yeah,
I enjoy it more than waiting for it to come out and I'm sitting on the couch just watching a movie by myself. So if I'm by myself watching a movie, I want to be in the theater.
That almost sounds sadder.
Why don't you
He's
make
the guy on his own in the
and then
theater.
go watch the Marvel movie?
I can't think of anybody you know that would accept an invitation to a Marvel movie.
I was going to say.
Okay, Clayton, you can come to the next Marvel movie with me.
Was this your way of asking Clayton to go to a Marvel
But Michelle
movie
will come with, and you will be a third wheel, so it will be way weirder than you expect.
Truly, for many years, every Sabbath before I had kids, when my wife would be at work, I would go to the theater and by myself and
to see
I
a
would
movie she didn't want to see.
Yeah, in the middle of the day, like 11 a.m., like matinee, I'd go and,
gosh.
That's what I did on my Sabbath.
Wow.
But if I'm watching with people, I'd rather be on, or with my wife, I'd rather just be on the couch and in sweatpants and.
Yeah.
But what's your opinion?
Yeah, Courtney,
what do you think?
We got into it.
Wow. And now I get to be kind of the tiebreaker. I'm going with at home, I think. My mind in the movie theater goes to the sticky and it's expensive, and I can make whatever food I want. I can get all the food I want to at home. I can sit there and pet my cat while I watch a movie.
Oh,
I can't bring my cat to the movie theater.
Yeah, don't do that.
That would be bad.
All right. I thought of the best reason why you should watch at home.
Okay.
You can pause and go to the bathroom.
Okay, that's legit.
Also
That's
valid.
legit. That's true. There are times when I'm like, it seems like it's a lull.
It
seems like it's a lull.
Like, how fast can I go to the bathroom, get back, and not miss a really
true.
important plot line?
It's true.
Yeah.
All right, let's turn to our passage today. We are starting the book of Numbers. I know that everybody has been waiting for this. Like, we finished Leviticus, and people are like, I need the sequel now. And we've got it, guys. We have it so much.
It's out.
Let me help you out here. The book of Numbers is admittedly challenging. And at least the beginning of Numbers. There's some pretty wild stories in the middle here. But when you're trying to get into this, you always want to do big picture context. Two great ways to do this. Three. One is with your study Bible, looking at the intro to that. We'll give you some overview. I think I prefer the videos from the BibleProject. They've actually got two different versions of the Numbers video. Both are really good. But then we have also done an interview with a scholar for Numbers. So that should be coming out. I think it's this week. Usually on Wednesday it drops. So Dr. Morales, who helped us out with Leviticus, came back and helped us out with Numbers, and so you should check that out. He just recently did a commentary on that, so he's kind of like cutting edge in terms of number scholarship, because I know you guys are all like, I don't want the old stuff. I want the cutting edge.
Cutting edge of number scholarship was not on my bingo card for today.
So let me give you a little bit of context aside from what you get from there. You've got to know that the book of Numbers starts at Mount Sinai. So we've got the people of Israel. They have been set free from slavery in Egypt. That's the book of Exodus. They have come to the mountain where God has met with them and made a covenant with them, again in the book of Exodus. Then they set up a tabernacle. So this is the place where God's going to come and live with them and travel with them. And when they do that, they get instructions on how to actually engage with God. If he's going to live with them, what's it going to look like for them? That's what the book of Leviticus is about. How do you live with God in the neighborhood? And so finally, after Leviticus, they've got the instructions, and it's now possible for all this to come together. And so we get to the beginning of Numbers, and the people are like, all right, it's happening. The tabernacle's here. We're there. And then they're about to go to the promised land. They're going to travel from Mount Sinai to the land that God promised them and go and take it. And so that's where the plot of the story is. But we start off right here at the base of Mount Sinai, and the people are doing some stuff. Now, chapter 2 that we're going to read is it's riveting, guys. It's riveting.
The page turner.
I'm gonna sell this. At some point, you're gonna be like, "You're right, Clayton. It is." Here's what we're gonna do. Rather than read all 34 or whatever verses, which have quite a few names in it, we're gonna spare Courtney. And let's do half of it. You game for 17 verses here?
I can try.
Okay. So here we go. Numbers 2, 1 through 17.
Oh, where are the hard names? Okay. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, the Israelites are to camp around the tent of meeting some distance from it, each of them under their standard and holding the banners of their family. On the east, toward the sunrise, the divisions of the camp of Judah are to encamp under their standard. The leader of the people of Judah is Nahshon, son of Amminadab. His division numbers 74,600. The tribe of Issachar will camp next to them. The leader of the people of Issachar is Nathanael, son of Zuar. His division numbers 54,400. The tribe of Zebulun will be next. The leader of the people of Zebulun is Eliab, son of Helon. His division numbers 57,400. All the men assigned to the camp of Judah, according to their divisions, number 186,400. They will set out first. On the south will be the divisions of the camp of Reuben under their standard. The leader of the people of Reuben is Elizur, son of Shedeur. His division numbers 46,500. The tribe of Simeon will camp next to them. The leader of the people of Simeon is Shelomiel, son of Zurshadai. His division numbers 59,300. The tribe of Gad will be next. The leader of the people of Gad is Eliasaph, son of Jewel. His division numbers 45,650. Clayton is laughing at me.
Keep going.
All the men assigned to the camp of Reuben, according to their divisions, number 151,450. They will set out second. Then the tent of meeting and the camp of the Levites will set out in the middle of the camps. They will set out in the same order as they encamp, each in their own place under their standard.
Oh, we shouldn't make you do the whole thing. I just want more of those names.
Wow.
And what I was picturing through all of that, maybe this is an observation, but you know when you watch the opening ceremonies of the Olympics and they're like, and next is the country of da-da-da-da-da, and their flag bearer, blah, 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 blah. And then they put the number of how many Olympians they have.
That's
a good
that
observation.
Is a really good
honestly.
observation.
Okay.
That is
Yeah.
great.
I jumped the gun a little because might want to give a little
I don't know.
context, or I don't know.
It was really hard not to laugh through that.
No,
I'm
seriously.
just- that was-
All right. So let's take a step back as we do observations here. We're very straightforward about this. Okay, these are challenging passages. And there are times when we are in our daily reading, if we want to read through the whole Bible, we're going to come across stuff like this. So for those who are challenged by this, let's step back and say, all right, what do you do when you come across a passage that probably on the surface you say, I don't know what to do with this. Like, I'm sure it was important for somebody to know, but what do I need to do with it? How do you guys approach that?
So, when we did, back when Matthew, we did the genealogy chapter, and we talked about, with a big genealogy, look for names that stick out to you. Mm-hmm. And in this case, I kind of do the same, where I'm looking for names that stick out to me. And in this case, there's a very clear Genesis connection where it's talking about Israel's family or Jacob's family, where he starts talking about all the sons of the 12 sons, and you've got the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, and it made me think back to our time that we just spent studying Genesis and reading that sort of these brothers, and just that, hey, look, God has fulfilled this, and all of a sudden, what was the number, 600,000 something at the end of wow, 12 brothers turned into 600,000. So for me, it was looking at the tribe, not just this is the tribe of blank. It's like this started with one man, one brother back in Genesis, and now here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. You find those things that you can latch onto because your eyes start to glaze over. But if you say, oh, Judah, I know that one, like it's the reference,
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I will sometimes do, and I challenge our kids sometimes to do, is when you're reading through this, I mean, there are a few passages similar to that we've actually been going through, but I'll tell them to just start drawing some of this stuff out too. This is obviously, there's a lot of organization happening here, but when you look at it and you say, on the east toward the sunrise, the divisions of the camp of Judah are to encamp under their standard. We'll start thinking about, like, what does that look like? How would that look? Kind of gives you a little bit of a, we've said before, they didn't have a YouTube channel to go to, or I told the kids actually last night at Epic, like the Lego instructions, like you don't have that. And so draw those. Figure out what that example is. Like take this and
Lego instructions. That's the right one. I always use IKEA instructions, and it's like, no, I hate IKEA instructions. Yeah. But Legos are fun.
Yeah.
Legos are fun.
Good.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. I tried to draw it. I think I drew it wrong. Like I drew the camp. You can't really see this, but I drew it one way, and then we opened up the study Bible. So this is a helpful thing. Mm-hmm. They actually have a diagram of this in the NIV study Bible, but it's different than mine. So I obviously misunderstood it the way they did. So, but it is helpful. The visual of something that just feels like words is super helpful. Mm-hmm. One thing I do is I try to notice groups rather than individuals sometimes, right? Like, so you recognize some names that we knew, and we knew the individuals before, but now these are whole tribes, right? So instead of saying, do I have to remember Nathaniel, son of Zuar, right? Like, is he important? I don't know. But I can back up and say, oh, wait. There's a whole tribe, right? Tribe of Issachar, tribe of Judah, tribe of Zebulun. Like, I'm starting to get a sense of like, all right, this is what it is. I'm getting a list of every tribe. It's almost like if you saw a list of here are the people from Illinois and Indiana and Wisconsin, and they listed off, the representative from these places. Well, you would back up and say, oh, no, there's a list of states, right? Like groups of people from a state would mean something different to you. Mm-hmm. So looking at the group rather than the individual sometimes help. The other thing I do is when things are very repetitive, right? Like it's the same formula 12 times over. I wonder, okay, repetition is what we're looking for. So why do they repeat these things? Like, I don't need to totally dig into every little detail, but it's like they said the tribe and the leader and they numbered them. Well, that was important. Something about this tribe and having a leader and how many people there were is significant in some way. Even if the details, I'm like, I don't know if I need to know 54,000 or what, Yeah. So why did they repeat those things?
Well, this is one that's maybe an observation very specific to this. But the numbers and how large they are, I kept thinking, I can hardly organize my family of 6 to go on a vacation. And here's, men, 603,550, and that is the men, plus their families.
Yep.
And you just organize them into camps under their banner, and this is how they encamped. This is how they set out. I put down here organized. Like, that's amazing. All those people who had left Egypt in a complete mass of a mass of humanity. It's not like, I don't think they would have been like, all right, let's get organized as we cross the Red Sea. It's like, no, you got to go. Like, get out of here. And now you've got them organized under their standard. This is our thing. Let's move forward. Again, picturing it like the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. Yeah. Here's your group. Go forward with them.
I love that image. That's a good one. I'm going to steal that in the future. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's open it up. Any other kinds of observations, things that are helpful for you?
Yeah, at the very end, verse 34, which we didn't read, it does say, so the Israelites did everything the Lord commanded Moses. That is the way. They encamped under their standards, and that is the way they set out, each of them with their own clan and family. Just the emphasis on the Israelites did everything the Lord commanded them, because that was specific.
That's about to change.
Yeah.
Spoilers for the rest of Numbers.
Stay tuned till next week.
I thought you kept emphasizing that is the way. I'm like, this is the way.
This is the way.
I thought that's where
This
you were
is the
going
way.
to
That's
go.
good.
But that's
Star
how
Wars
chapter
reference,
1
everybody.
ends as well, right?
Yes.
The Israelites did all this just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Again, I feel like we're in for a setup. And of course, we already know this. But I also highlighted that because I was like, meh, things about to go down. Like
We do see a lot of disobedience from Israel, but that's why I think it stuck out to me. It's like, oh, we actually have an example of obedience. And it's something that might seem like, why are we doing this? Why are we organizing this way? Like, can we do it a different way? But they actually did it.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
observation is related to the drawing thing. It's the fact that when you actually draw this out and you say, what is at the center of this community?
Mhm.
That's it's like, oh, that's what it was describing. Because the reason I had Courtney go all the way to verse 17 is it describes the tribe, the 3 tribes that are on the east, the 3 tribes that are on the south. Then it says, then the tent of meeting, that's the tabernacle where God lives, and the camp of the Levites will set out in the middle of the camps, and they will set out in the same order as they encamp, etc. So if you're like, what? All of these tribes are all around what? The presence of God and the people who serve God in that place. There is, it says something about your world. Like if you go to a city, right? Like in the old days, like the city was built around a church because that was important. Or it might be built around a courthouse or something else where you say, what's important in this community? Whatever they put in the center. And so even if I don't know what all the other details are about, I can get that one and say, oh, I get it. These people are centered around God.
Yeah. One of my favorite kind of attributes of God is the idea of the Lord is our banner. And I wrote that on here because it talks about them being under the standard and holding the banners of their family and just how you're identified by that. That was an identifier of their family. Again, that opening ceremonies, here's your flag in front of you, this banner that goes before you. And whenever I think of that attribute of God, that's what I always think of. I think of parades actually usually, and like how they hold a banner in front of like, this is the, homecoming parades. This is the swim team and this is the track team and this is the football team. And that attribute of God has always made me think like, these are God's people. Like he's the banner over us. And so to think of all of these different tribes holding their banner to say, this is who we are. Like that's significant. These are my people. This is who we are. So I love the pointing out of holding the banners of their family.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hey, Clayton.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Why not count the Levites? Aren't they people too?
Okay, so this isn't a part we didn't read, but if you read it today, so they get through all the numbers of all the tribes. They say the camps of the Levites in the middle, doesn't give a number, and then at the very end, sums it all up, and it says, the Levites, however, were not counted along with the other Israelites as the Lord commanded Moses. So this is not because the Levites were excluded in some way. It's because actually they're set apart for something special. So you've got the Levites who... There's a portion earlier in, I believe, Exodus where God says, all right, the firstborn of everything belongs to me. And so all their firstborn animals or whatever, like these are, they're brought to God and offered as a sacrifice. And he says, and every firstborn among your people, like not just your animals, but your sons. And so the obvious question is, well, so how do you want us to give you our firstborn sons? And God says, here's how you're going to do it. Rather than everybody saying, well, when I have a kid, the first one goes to God, you are going to set aside the Levites to represent, kind of to be in place of the firstborn of all of the people of Israel. So they will serve me as an entire tribe. So it was a tribe that was set apart and not included in this other group. I don't know if this is the case. I do have some like vague recollection when I've studied this in the past that there is something about this that's also kind of a military census, right? So you've got, they're not counting all the women and children. They're counting the fighting men. And I think that might be in chapter 1 where it says something about that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Levites aren't going out and wielding a sword in the war.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got the people who could march off to battle. So I think that might have something to do with it, although I'd have to confirm that.
Sure.
One other thought that I have here is it's that old principle of when you're confused by something, don't zoom in, zoom out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think zooming out all the way, and you alluded to it a little bit, like the story of Israel is the story of one guy and his wife, and they can't have kids. And the promise that's made is you will have so many kids, it'll be like the stars in the sky. You won't even be able to count them. And so zooming out, we're saying, oh, wait, what are they doing? They're counting stars, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I stole that from Carmen Imes, so I'm outed. You know Carmen now. So I always use that line, but it's like, no, it's hers. She said it. But I think that's just a beautiful thing. Like when Abraham is standing out there in the desert looking up and saying, what's my future? How's God ever going to keep a promise? Well, this is the answer. You can count them all. They're all right there. You know what I mean? Like that's a beautiful thing to be like this very boring text to us is the culmination of the promise we've been waiting for since Genesis 12 and 15, right? Like you're saying this list of people seems so boring, except it's the thing we've been waiting for. It's just amazing in that respect. Even so, I don't really know who Pagiel, son of Ochran, is. So,
but his parents did.
But his parents did. He mattered to them. All right, we are going to go to one of the M's in comma, and we're going to do meditation first. And we're going to have Courtney read this again, and you're going to pray through the whole thing.
And you're going to laugh.
Here's a great way to do meditation when you come across something like this. Do message first, actually, on something like this. Because instead of saying, I'm going to pick a passage to kind of like mull over, what you do is you say, I'm going to synthesize what I got out of this. And then your meditation actually becomes the let's ask God what he wants me to do with this. So I threw it out there just to make the joke, but we'll do that between message and application. So let's talk about message here.
My message has to do with one of your observations where they talk about how all the tribes were organized around and God was at the center. And so my very loose message is keep God at the center.
Yeah.
All right. Mine was more around that, I said, I love that attribute of the Lord is our banner. And so I just kept thinking, know who you are and whose you are. This is a phrase I use quite often, but it just felt really applicable to this passage.
Yeah. I'm grabbing onto that connection back to Abraham and saying, God keeps his promises right here. You can count them all. God keeps them. Mm-hmm. So that's my message. So here's what I want you to do. I want you for meditation to grab onto one of our messages that you heard that you say, oh, that resonates with me, or maybe something that you've been thinking about. And I want your meditation to be 45 seconds at least of saying, God, okay, so how does this impact me? How should I respond? What does this have to say, not just in general, but to my life? All right, let's talk about the A and comma application. What do we do?
So my message was keep God at the center. And my application has a little bit to do with the verse 34 where it says, so the Israelites did everything the Lord commanded Moses. So my application is do everything the Lord commands me.
Yeah.
So because as you alluded to, Courtney, it doesn't always stay this way, right? Like we know a little bit of what's coming and that their full obedience isn't always their story. But I thought if they had stayed in this, this application of, okay, Lord said it, we're going to do it. They could avoid a lot of the future pain, but they don't. But again, we'll get to that eventually. So my application is just do everything God commands me.
Yeah. My application or my message was know who you are and whose you are. And my application was just to think, in my family, the thought around that is, again, there were banners for their family, and then they were encamped around something that really identified who they were as a people and whose they were as a people, that they're God's people. And when they even start out, there's a little diagram here in the study Bible, and it, points out like the Ark of the Covenant would go before them. So there's that banner that goes in front of everything. Like, this is whose we are, and then this is who we are. And in our family, we have written out like a little family mission statement. We have some ways that we remember that, and it points out that we belong to God, that we follow God, and what makes us unique as a family, that we will walk faithfully in love as Christ is formed in us. And so for me, it was just a reminder to pull that out and to really look at it again. Like, am I living that way? Am I living as someone who knows whose I am and who I am? That I have a banner that goes over me, that goes before me, that I follow after, that identifies who I am. And really knowing that and leaning into that, living into that.
Yeah. So my message was that God keeps his promises. And so the application to that is somewhat general, and it's to hold on to hope. So I think about the Israelites, and this is hundreds of years later. This is not, it was a tough month or a tough year for Abraham. There was a promise, and we started to see it come true, but like really it didn't happen until we're starting to get here. So there was a lot in between. Right? And there's still more to come. So some of the times when we are discouraged and we say, what's going to happen, we need to remember that God actually does keep his promises, even if it looks like it's a long time coming. Now, I know that I've been asked by people about that. They're like, how do I know what God's promises to me are? And that's a bigger question. But I do think it's worth highlighting. Scripture tells us what God is going to do. Sometimes people say, I feel like God has spoken to me and said he's going to do these things. You always got to test those things. Those are not things that you immediately bank on. There have been people who felt like, I felt like God was saying this and it didn't happen that way. So I'm not talking about that, but I am saying there are things that God says and clinging to those. So things like, one day you will be free from sin. There are people who are like, every day they're struggling against whatever their addiction or their like challenges, and they're like, I want to be better, but I'm not. God promises one day you will be completely free from sin, right? Like God promises, I'm going to heal your body. Like if you're in me, you're going to be resurrected, right? So you face that chronic pain or that illness or whatever, and you like God's going to remake the world. You look at the world and you say, this is terrible. There's injustice. What's going to happen? Well, God said, I'm going to fix it, right? And so all of these things, like some of those you say, well, that's not specifically about me, but this is about us as a people, right? This is where we're headed. And those things give us hope. So clinging to those promises and saying, I'm going to hold on to hope because God really does keep those things.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Join us again next Monday for a new episode where we'll be looking at another passage from the Bible Savvy reading schedule. And in the meantime, if you're not following along with the reading plan, check out BibleSavvy.com. Also, you can subscribe and leave a review on whatever platform you're listening or watching on. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Email us your questions or suggestions at podcast@BibleSavvy.com. Lastly, tell your friends, and we'll talk to you next week.